So good afternoon. I think it should be afternoon for most everybody. Good morning if it's morning for you. I'm TransComm Professional Development Subcommittee Chair Danielle Calcagney. I'm from New Jersey DOT, and I'm excited to welcome you to our monthly TransComm webinar series. Today's webinar is titled, Let's Get Ready to Rubble, Successfully Communicating Through a Major Interstate Closure, which will discuss preparing the community for a full weekend closure of I-10 in the heart of Phoenix and adjacent to Sky Harbor Airport so that crews could take down 3 bridges over the freeway. Today's webinar is part of ASHTO's Committee on Transportation Communications, or TransComm's, mission to facilitate the sharing of best practices among state DOTs. The membership of this committee is comprised of the top communication officials from each of the 52 ASHTO member departments appointed by each state DOT CEO. Among other activities, TransComm hosts an annual meeting that focuses on best practices, state-to-state collaboration, and professional development. TransComm 2024 will be held in Atlanta from September 22nd to the 25th. You can find the registration link on TransComm's website, transportation.org/communications, or you can reach out to Maggie and she will be able to give you more information about the annual meeting. This webinar is open to anyone and everyone, so please feel free to share information on the series with your friends and your colleagues. The presentation will be recorded and uploaded to the TransComm website. And I know Maggie usually sends an email afterwards with the link. Before we get started, a few things to keep in mind. First, please type your questions into the chat or raise your hand after all the presentations are done and we can unmute you. We'll have plenty of time for the questions at the end, but you can share your questions as they pop up throughout the presentation in the chat, and we'll be sure to get through as many as we can after the presentation. And on our speakers, I'd like to welcome Nicole Moon. Nicole serves as the public involvement lead for the GEC on ADOT's I-10 Broadway Curve Improvement Project. She is an award-winning journalist turned public involvement professional. After working as a morning news producer, Nicole transitioned twice to a career in government communications, which eventually led her to a role at a local transportation department in Arizona. Nicole is skilled at creating and implementing strategic communications and outreach plans that foster collaboration and understanding among stakeholders in complex and high-profile, high-stress projects. She especially has a passion for digital communications and enjoys creating and implementing social media content and strategies, websites, and other interactive digital tools. And then we have Marcy McMacken. Marcy currently works at the Arizona Department of Transportation as a community outreach project manager / public information officer for major projects in their communications division. Before ADOT, Marcy worked at the Maricopa Association of Governments as a community outreach planner / Title VI coordinator / social media coordinator. Sounds like you did a lot over there, as we all do. Marcy also worked in local television news in the Phoenix market as an assignment manager and assignment editor. Marcy currently serves as president of the boys team charity North Valley League and has served as vice president for the Arizona Information Officer Association. So we welcome you both. We're so excited to have you, and I will now turn things over to you two.
Well, thank you for that fun introduction. And like I said, I am Nicole Moon. I've been on the I-10 Broadway Curve Improvement Project since 2019. So I've been fortunate to have been part of the project through the environmental phase all the way into construction. I'm here with Marcy McMacken with ADOT. She joined the project in 2021. And a super fun fact, you kind of alluded to the fact that both Marcy and I are journalists. We have known each other for 15 years. We both worked at Channel 3 together. Marcy was an assignment editor. I was a producer. So when she came on the project in 2021, it was a really fun reunion. And I'll let Marcy, if you want to say anything more about your background.
Yeah, I worked in television news in Arizona for almost 20 years. So Yeah, Nicole and I have known each other for quite a while, and it was exciting and kind of fun to meet back up in a different industry, transportation planning. And it's been a lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun as well.
So I'm going to jump right in. Thank you, Marcy. If you're not familiar with this project, the I-10 Broadway Curve Improvement Project is ADOT's largest urban freeway reconstruction project to date. It's being delivered by a P3 and a DB. The project is 11 miles long, and you can kind of see that on the map there. It's where 3 freeways converge. So a lot of people are affected by it. This area sees about 300,000 drivers every single weekday. And it's really a freeway widening project. So we are adding travel lanes, we're adding a new HOV lane, we're adding collector distributor lanes, and some multi-use bridges as well. We started construction in summer of 2021. We expected it to go for about 3 years. Right now we're on schedule to wrap things up early next year. So we have known since the very, very beginning of this project that it was going to be very impactful to the public. So if you have been in the Phoenix area, you might recognize this interchange. This is the interchange of I-10 and US 60. This photo was actually taken in 2019 when I first started on the project, so it definitely does not look like this today. But it's a good example of how back then we were trying to determine who our project stakeholders were on the project. And really, we dug into the data, but you really just need to look at the picture. So we know from Census Bureau and US Postal State data that there's about 220,000 people that live at 6,800 mailing addresses, and that's just within 1 mile of this 11-mile corridor. We also know from Maricopa Association of Government data that the MAG is our local MPO, that there's about 5,000 businesses that are in this corridor. So these run from everything from super small mom and pop organizations to very big, large multinational corporations. The state of Arizona has also designated this corridor as a key commerce corridor. So we know that it is heavily used by freight and logistics vehicles. And then we also knew from MAG that that number, that 300,000 vehicles that drive through every day, was expected to rise by 25%, which is 370,000 vehicles by the year 2040. The project also kind of runs in between a whole bunch of jurisdictions, and you'll see those on the side. So we have partnered with the city of Phoenix, the city of Tempe, the city of Chandler, and the town of Guadalupe. We also have partnerships with FHWA and MAG, and then our local transit agency, Valley Metro. Like I said, construction started in early mid 2021. It is expected to go through early next year. Here's kind of some snapshots of things we've been working on for the last 2 years, but everything from utility relocation, barriers, drainage, lighting, paving, adding new lanes, landscaping, pedestrian bridges. That's what's in the picture. But the real highlight of the project has been the 21 bridges that we are working on. And so part of this project included rebuilding several of the bridges because they simply just weren't long enough to accommodate all of these new travel lanes that we're adding. So those bridges are these 3 that you see. On the left here is the 48th Street bridges. There are 2 of them. There's one in each direction, and then the Broadway Road Bridge. So as you can see in these pictures, the developer team, they built the new bridges right next to the existing bridges. And the reason we did that was so that we could keep traffic flowing. We wanted to make sure people were able to get where they were going. So eventually the new bridges got to a point where we could move the traffic over, and we needed to remove all of the old bridges. I'm going to change the view here so you can see just how close those 3 bridges are on the freeway. And I'm going to add this map here. So these 3 bridges are right here, right in the middle of Phoenix. And this is downtown. We're not very far from downtown Phoenix. And this is Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. So these are huge, big key stakeholders that as we were looking at how do we take these bridges down, we realized that it would involve a major shutdown of the freeway. So typically, we allow the developer to shut down the freeway in one direction over a weekend. And so as we were planning this out, the developer team came to us and said, you know, if we're going to take these 3 bridges down over one direction over a weekend, it's going to take 6 weekends. But we'll propose doing this in 1 weekend. But the closure that would be needed is this big red area. So we would have to literally shut down both freeways in both directions over 1 weekend. And we agreed to this because the impact would be much less on the public to deal with it for 1 weekend than 6 weekends. We also knew that it was going to be extremely impactful, just the closure itself, but also the fact that these 3 bridges had disappeared. So we decided to kind of capitalize that and create an experience to educate the public on the closures and on the bridge removal process. So we created the Ready to Rubble, the ultimate bridge takedown event. And so funny side note about the name, because we get a lot of questions about the name. We actually came up with about 20 different names and we threw them up on a giant piece of paper on the wall in the project office and we had everyone vote. And this was the one that came out as the very clear winner, which was super, super exciting to our graphic designer who just, as you can see, took that WWE theme and ran with it. So our goals, I went too fast. Our goals for this event was to educate the public about the bridge removal process, but then also to engage the public and project stakeholders in the project process. We wanted to establish ADOT as a leader in engineering, especially here in Arizona. And then, of course, we wanted to educate the public about the road closures that were needed that weekend because they were very extensive. We started by identifying our target audiences, and those audiences were the general public, local students in engineering and STEM programs. We really needed to make sure that the businesses and the schools knew what were happening, our elected officials in nearby cities and towns, members of the media, government agencies, those project partners that I talked about a second ago were very important to us, taxpayers, because a lot of money goes into this project and we wanted them to see the progress that we were making. And then really anyone who is interested in learning about the bridge removal process, because we often share great information about bridges as we're building them, but eventually they have to come down too. So we wanted to really highlight that process for people. With our goals in place, we then moved into strategies and tactics. We had 3 main strategies that we used. The first was to provide in-person tours to select stakeholder groups. The second was to provide the closure information and bridge takedown information to the media. And we also went, I think, above and beyond to make sure that the media had opportunities to come out and be part of that process. And then last was to distribute digital content. So we couldn't bring everybody to the site to see the bridges come down, but we could share it digitally. So we put together a content plan that allowed us to tell people what was happening before it was going to happen, what was happening while it was happening, and then then share a wrap up afterwards. I am going to jump into the in-person tours. Our in-person tours for that strategy, our audience was students from all of 3 of Arizona's state universities, and we did have a high school STEM program that came out. We had some groups of young professionals, just young engineers who wanted to learn about the project, and then our agency stakeholders. So we've had wonderful collaboration with our cities and with FHWA and MAG, and we wanted to kind of give them a reward for being such great partners and give them that behind the scenes really personal touch of being part of the construction process. So these are some photos of the tour. You can see that bottom photo. We were able to take the buses right onto the new bridges, which, as I showed you, were right next to the old bridges. And you could stand there at that fence, and literally there was just 20, 30, 40 feet away from watching them take down the bridges. And it was a really, really fun experience for them. But before they got there, there's a lot of logistics. So we had everything. This is a typical event planning process, from invitations to communicating with our participants, There was some coordination that we needed to do with the construction team. We needed to make sure that we were keeping our tours in a safe place, and we weren't disrupting their work. So we created the spreadsheet that you see, the run a show. There was about 10 of us from the ADOT and GEC teams that were there actually running the tours. And so we had kind of broken down minute by minute what everyone's job is and what they were supposed to be doing at any time. We created a text chain at the very beginning. After we had a big project meeting, we created a text chain that came in super handy because I showed you they got out of the bus, they went to go look at the demolition, and then our tour guides had a hard time getting everyone back on the buses. And they were having so much fun, and everyone was enjoying themselves that all of our buses ran behind. We had 6 tours and 3 tour buses, and so each of them had to make it back for the next tour, and it was a little bit of guessing when they would actually make it back. Finally, all of our tour participants were required to do a safety briefing. And because we had those 6 tours coming at very different times, we didn't want to have somebody giving the safety briefing over and over all day. So we decided to create a safety briefing video that we required everyone to watch and then sign saying they had watched it before they got on site. So I'm going to share that video with you really quick. It's just a couple minutes long. And when we come back, Marcy will take you through the actual results of the tours.
Hello, and thank you for joining us at ADOT I-10 Broadway Curve Improvement Project. We're excited to share with you the construction activities needed to reconstruct Interstate 10 and one of the busiest sections of freeway in our state and region. Before we head into the field, please ensure you are wearing the proper personal protective equipment, or PPE. PPE consists of a hard hat, eye protection, reflective safety vest, and closed-toed shoes. Steel-toed shoes are preferred if you have them. We also require that you wear long pants and a shirt with sleeves. Once we get out there into the field, we'll follow our safe guidelines. S stands for stay together. Please stay with your group. For your safety, do not wander away from the area where your group is standing. If you see something of interest, bring it up to your tour lead. Staying together ensures everyone makes it safely through the tour. A stands for alert. Be alert. Situations can change quickly in an active construction zone. Keep your eye on where the equipment is and always stay in a place where the workers operating that equipment can see you. F is for footing. Watch your footing. There is a lot of uneven terrain in a work zone. Pay attention to where you are walking to avoid trips or falls. And lastly, E is for escalate issues immediately. If you see something or someone that appears to be unsafe, please let your tour lead know immediately. This could be anything from someone who is showing signs of heat illness or identifying a safety hazard in the work zone. These situations can be serious, and your tour lead will help to address them as quickly as possible. Quick recap. We want you to be safe when you come out into the field. Stay together, be alert, watch your footing, and escalate issues immediately. We hope you enjoy your visit to the project. Don't forget to apply sunblock before you head out and bring water. It could get hot out there in the sun. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nicole, for playing that. And again, that's just one of an example of one of the tasks that needed to be completed before our actual Ready to Rubble tour event. So now, once we completed our planning and executed the event, it was time to see how we did. So we're going to start with our tour results. In the end, for our tour, we ended up with 75 participants. 42 of these participants were students and 33 were stakeholders. After the tours, we did ask our participants to fill out a post-event survey. All 54 rated this event good to excellent in all categories. And the categories were event communications, check-in process, safety briefing, tour guides, and overall tour. Now, 89% of the students who participated said that after the tour, they would consider a career at ADOT, which was really good news for us. And then we also received some positive feedback from some of the tour participants, and a few of those comments are up on the screen for you to read. These are comments from some of our students that participated. one of the other questions that we asked on our survey was what we could have done better to improve the tour experience. And one of the comments that stood out to us and was quite entertaining was someone asked if they would be able to ever ride the wrecking ball. So, of course, that request was not granted for obvious reasons, but we were pleased to see a lot of positive comments and some fun ones as well. Moving on to the next slide. So one of our strategies as Nicole had mentioned, was media outreach. Now, media outreach was an important part of our Ready to Rubble event outreach plan. We see the media as our megaphone, and they help us to amplify our message reach. So we wanted letting people know about the major freeway closure was paramount, and our project had established a really good relationship with the local media here in the Phoenix area and in Arizona alone. So we decided to capitalize on this. We invited print, radio, TV, and online media to visit the project construction site and provided them with interviews, video, photo opportunities during the bridge removal process. In the end, we ended up with a total of 18 media mentions from online, television, radio, and print combined. This included live shots from 6 local TV stations, including 1 Spanish language station and several printed stories on the event. So in order to get the media interested in our event, there was a lot of stuff that we did prior to. So we created press releases, media advisories, and then also provided multiple on-site opportunities before, during, and after the event for the media. On our end, we also had to arrange for on-site escorts with our construction team. So we worked very closely with our construction team to make sure they were available and on-site during the event, so we could keep the media out of any dangerous areas and keep them safe while they were participating in the Ready to Rubble event. We also developed a really comprehensive set of informative and relevant talking points. There was a lot of activity happening out there and a lot of things that we believed the media would ask about. So we wanted to make sure by creating these comprehensive and informative talking points that we could answer just about any oddball question that the media might have. That was just part of our preparation for media on site. And so what happened with our media coverage and what were our results? We were very pleased with our media coverage. Up on the screen, you can see some of the clips that we garnered that included an article, or actually a couple of articles on azcentral.com, which is the online version of our local major newspaper, the Arizona Republic. We also garnered coverage with our local radio station, KTAR News, and all the local TV stations, ABC, CBS, NBC, and then I think we had an independent and Spanish-speaking station as well. I must say, though, out of all of this, the biggest lift for planning this event was the digital content planning. Our digital, oh, next slide, Nicole. There we go. Our digital content included social posts on the screen. You can see what it included: blog post, email blast, time-lapse videos, op-ed articles, and also paid advertising as well, just to mention a few. Our goal, again, was to educate the public about the bridge removal process, engage the public and project stakeholders in this process, and establish ADOT as the leader in engineering, and then lastly, educate the public about the road closures needed for the bridge removal. And all of this digital content worked towards helping achieve these goals. So moving on to the online engagement logistics. So with all this content that we prepared, you can imagine that there was a pretty lengthy and involved or big to-do list. We created an overall task list that assigned each task to team members. That included not only our public outreach team, but also our GEC team and our construction and developing team as well. In addition, the core public involvement group held weekly coordination meetings to discuss the planning process and check in on how things were going for certain tasks. And we wanted to make sure that everything was moving along as planned. We did have certain dates with deadlines, and we wanted to make sure we were meeting those planning deadlines. We also wanted to put in place reporting metrics so we could see how people responded to our digital content once all was said and done. And then moving on. Now, so how did we do with all our planning of our digital content and once everything was completed? For social media posts, we had a total of 26 posts. We obtained about 250,000 impressions on, and our engagement rate was about 5%, which is very impressive for an engagement rate. For those who aren't involved with or don't work with social media metrics, a 1 to 3 engagement rate is considered to be pretty good. So a 5% engagement rate is excellent. And we were very, very pleased with that. Part of our online digital content included the creation of blog posts. We had a total of 3 event-related blog posts. The first blog focused, of course, on what we were doing, why the bridges needed to be taken down, and how they were being taken down. The next 2 blog posts focused more on the students who came out for the tours. And then after those blog posts posted, we received over 1,300 views total for all 3. Lastly, as part of our online digital content, we had the videos and photos. You're seeing the drone video on your screen right now that shot the bridge removal process. That video was posted to Vimeo and it garnered hundreds of views. We also created a Flickr album that included photos from the Ready to Rubble bridge removal process event, which also did very well. We want to now end by playing our behind the scenes video that posted to the ADOT YouTube channel once the project was completed. That YouTube channel garnered over 1,600 views. And then the video was also watched over 26,000 times on ADOT's Facebook and Twitter or X accounts combined. So let's play that video for you right now.
It happened. The portions of the old Broadway Road and 48th Street bridges that spanned over Interstate 10 came down, and all within less than 48 hours. Crews with the Interstate 10 Broadway Curve Improvement Project were up before the break of dawn, jackhammering the bridge decks and shearing the steel bridge girders. Interstate 10 was closed in both directions while crews with the Interstate 10 Broadway Curve Improvement Project removed the old 48th Street and Broadway Road bridges. Concrete and steel piles covered the I-10 roadway as crews worked to pick up and load the piles into trucks that hauled everything away. The removal of the old bridges now makes way for the construction of new lanes, widening I-10 to 6 general purpose lanes and 2 high-occupancy vehicle lanes in both directions through the Broadway Curve area. You can learn more about the I-10 Broadway Curve Improvement Project by visiting i10broadwaycurve.com and by downloading the free project mobile app called The Curve.
All right, so if anyone is interested in viewing all our photos and videos related to the project or the project event, the Ready to Rubble event, they're available on our website at i10broadwaycurve.com in the community outreach section. So moving on, I wanted to go back to our goals and objectives and answer whether or not we accomplished them. So starting with the educating the public about the bridge removal process. Yes, we accomplished this goal because the number of people who engaged with us through our digital media outreach was tremendous. In fact, we did a recent media interview with a reporter from ENR who just happens to live in our project area. And this particular event was one that he says vividly, he remembered it vividly and recalled it because he experienced it through our digital outreach efforts and not in person, but was able to keep up with what was taking place on the day of the event. Now, for our goal of engaging the public and project stakeholders in this project process, yes, we accomplished this goal as well. This is an experience that we are still hearing about from our stakeholders, and it's been over a year, and we're presenting it to you all today. And the responses from the tour survey show that we definitely made an impact. So for our other goal, establish ADOT as a leader in engineering. Again, 89% of the students who participated in our on-site tour event said that they indeed would consider a career at ADOT. This is important for our future workforce development, so we take that as a big win. And lastly, our goal of educating the public about the road closures needed for the bridge removal. When you compare the number of complaints that we received about this massive road closure, it was on par for a normal, much smaller one-way road closure. So we take that as a win. We think we did an excellent job in informing and preparing the public about this major road closure. And because of that, it minimized the amount of complaints that we received. And plus, we offered the public to come along for the ride and learn about this bridge removal process. And hopefully they walked away from what we did with more knowledge than they had prior to this event. Now, moving on, this event was truly unique and it garnered a lot of attention. In addition to the 2023 ADOT TransComm Award for Best Transportation Event, we were also honored as the winner of the Transportation Research Board's 17th Annual Communicating Concepts with the Public competition early this year at their annual meeting in Washington, D.C. And our local chapter of Women Transportation Seminar, WTS, here in Phoenix also honored us earlier this year with its Innovative Transportation Solutions Project of the Year Award. And on the screen is just a couple of pictures of us receiving the awards and a couple of the awards on the left. And this wraps up our presentation on ADOT's Ready to Rubble, the Ultimate Bridge Takedown event here in Phoenix. So we wanted to now take the opportunity to answer any questions that anyone might have for us.
So we've got a few queued up here. The first one is, did you notify Google, Apple, and Waze of the closure?
Nicole, did you want to answer that one?
Sure. So it's part of our MOT processes that we do notify Waze and Google and Apple. They don't always do anything with the information they provide or that we provide to them. So usually what we have learned through their apps is when cars stop going on the infrastructure, they will just automatically show the road is closed. So it takes a few minutes to hours after a closure goes into place, but it will show up on their apps. But we do the extra due diligence of letting them know ahead of time.
Great. How much did your app cost?
That is a great question. So it came from, it was part of our contract with the developers team. I don't know who asked that question, but I can get an answer and get that back to you. But that was done by the contract.
Okay, great. If you want to send it to me, I'll make sure that person receives that information.
I can do that, yeah.
Another question here. Love the overall task list that you had. Did you add things as you went? Were there things that you had left off that you had to go back and add in, or was it pretty spot on from the jump?
We thought it was pretty spot on from the jump, but as things came up, for example, that video for the security training video that we showed to show the tour participants was something that we thought of once we had developed a list. So that was just an example of something we thought about instead of, Nicole talked about how we didn't want to have someone to keep presenting on the safety video or safety presentation over and over again. So we talked it out and decided to add that to our task list. That was just one of the things that I recall.
There were a few. So as we started getting into it, we had some requests from different stakeholders who wanted special things too. So we added those as they came in. But for the most part, I agree with Marcy. We've done a few events together, so we're pretty spot on with what we anticipated we would need.
Great metrics with the social posts. Do you remember what people were most engaged with? Was it video? Was it photos? Was it just simply the information? What do you think drew the most people in?
Oh, I can answer. I think it was the visuals, actually. Visuals always work. We've noticed for anything that we do related to this project. So we wanted to make sure we provided mostly visuals of everything taking place during the bridge removal process, both videos and photos for sure.
Yeah, 100% video. In fact, we took some of the video of the wrecking ball and then did an Instagram reel with Miley Cyrus's wrecking ball video or song, and that, I think, Marcy, correct me if I'm wrong, is still ADOT's #1 watched reel out there.
That sounds accurate to me. Yeah. People love a pop culture to transportation tie there, don't they?
Absolutely.
We have we have one comment in the webinar chat that says, one inclusive element I've been using recently in my transportation messaging is being careful of the word driver, instead using traveler or people, as it includes the person driving, passengers, and people who bike, walk, and roll. That's definitely true. And I'm seeing that throughout a lot of the communications from you all, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Let's see. You mentioned you alert Google Waze about road closures. Do they have an established process to do that you could share? It seems like people have a lot of questions on this because, again, that's one thing that impacts all of us as well, because everybody's got closures.
I'll follow up with our MOT guys and get that to you. Yeah, they do have, I think it's really relationship built or based, but yeah, I can get that to you.
I'm just making a note here to follow up on that too and send it out. When I send the recording, I can answer these questions as well.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? That's all I see here in the Q&A or the chat. Anybody have anything else?
I have a question. What type of local outreach did you do for this project as opposed to your online and your media outreach?
Yeah, so we reached out, of course, to our project stakeholders, which was our local MPO, our businesses, our city of Tempe, Chandler, and the town of Guadalupe, and of course reaching out to our local universities and some of our local high schools, and also just the businesses. So we did a lot of local outreach for this event.
Yeah, anytime we shut down the freeway, we require the contractor team to go out, boots on the ground, and canvas with information. This was a huge one, so almost everyone in our distribution list received something about what was happening going out.
And Kathy Boyle just wrote something in the chat too, that the project team used ADOT internal communications to keep employees informed too, which is another big audience.
Thank you, Kathy, for pointing that out.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yes.
Yes. Our Inside Lane employee newsletter was also shared this information.
Wonderful. I'm not seeing anything else. Is there anything else our panelists want to add? All right. Well, thank you. Danielle, I'll let you close us out here.
Great. Well, yeah, I want to thank Marcy and Nicole again for that great presentation. That will wrap us up. It's a shorter one today, but there was so much great information in there. I really want to watch it again. So thank you again for that. If you have a question that maybe you want to ask later on, please feel free to reach out to our panelists. If Marcy and Nicole, if you could put your emails in the chat, that would be great. And anybody that might have something pop up later when you're driving home and you're like, oh shoot, I should have asked this. I'm sure that they would be very happy to answer your question later on. But like I mentioned, this webinar has been recorded and we'll post a link on transportation.org/communications with an S within the next few days. And then Maggie will also send the link out to the TransComm email distribution list, which is so helpful as well. We will have information on the July edition of the TransComm webinar series soon. So check back, be sure to look out for an email announcement or at the TransComm website. And don't forget to register for the TransComm annual meeting. I know the summer, we were just talking before this webinar that the summer is already flying by. So it's going by really fast, and September will be here before you know it. And I am not wishing the summer to go by fast, but I'm really looking forward to the TransComm annual meeting. It's always a lot of fun. And I always walk away learning a lot. It's like these types of webinars, but times 100. So there'll be a lot of great presenters and great information there. And on behalf of everybody at TransComm, I want to thank again today's presenters. And I also want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in and contributing to the session. So we will see you in July. Thank you.